Davohnte Morgan. The last time that 28-year-old Davohnte Morgan spoke to his mother, Terry Barnes, was on May 3, 2020, and he talked to her about how he was so sad at the passing of a cousin. His mother lived in Nevada at the time and was unable to make the funeral. However, Davohnte did make it, and he made the decision to drive with his girlfriend toward Lake Tahoe, which was about 200 miles from where they lived in San Francisco. Davohnte and his girlfriend arrived at the Cold Creek Inn on North Mount Shasta Boulevard in Mount Shasta. It was a surprising destination as Davohnte wasn't really the hiking type of guy. So it was a bit of a surprise event. His mother spoke to them on the phone saying that the two had been drinking and they ended up in the wrong place, eventually deciding to stay in Mount Shasta with the goal being spiritual healing. His mother believes Davohnte intended to become a preacher when he came back home, except he didn't ever arrive back home. She fully admits he was having a tough time with the loss of his cousin. It appears that the girlfriend, Jennifer Majana, told officials that she and Davohnte had not seen or spoken to each other since the evening of May 4th. 2 days later, she reported him missing, saying she had not spoken to him after that, saying the couple got into a fight the night before, breaking up, but they spent the night in the hotel together anyway. She says that she got up at 5 a.m. to watch the sun come up, and on the way back to the room at 9 a.m., they passed each other in the hall, but they didn't acknowledge the other person, and they didn't speak a word. There's no indication he ventured too far away from where they were staying, much less to head up into the wilderness without a cell phone or telling anyone. But it's of course a possibility. Lieutenant Joe Rustine commented, "Circumstances surrounding Morgan's disappearance are highly unusual, and the case is being investigated as suspicious." She stated that she went to speak to the police about him being missing earlier, but decided to wait to report it, because someone in her family told her she should wait. His mother, however, was told a different story by the girlfriend about what happened that day, compared to what she told authorities, although it doesn't appear she spoke to the press about what was said. His mother said, "That young woman knows what happened to him." She went on to say, "My child was a child of God. He was going to be a pastor. She doesn't believe he would have done anything to hurt himself." Cell phone records show that the last time his phone had been pinged, it was in a location in Oakland, California, on May 3rd, which was the day before he arrived in Mount Shasta. A second ping was done, approximately a week later, and it confirmed that the phone had still not been turned on. The department also followed up on the use of a debit card that they believed was in his possession, but the card was confirmed to not have been used since May 4th, 2020, and it hasn't been used since. He also had a Chime account, but the police were denied a court order to check on that account to see if it's been used, so nobody knows for sure. Davohnte is described as a 5'11" black man with short black hair and brown eyes. He has a slender build, a mustache, and a goatee. He is a cigarette smoker and walks with a slight limp. Morgan also has a tattoo on the top of his left hand. Police were able to obtain surveillance footage of Davohnte walking southbound on Mount Shasta Boulevard after 9 a.m. on May 5th, 2020. They were able to track him up until 10 a.m., and that was the last time he was seen. When he was last seen, he was wearing black sweatpants, a black turtleneck, and San Francisco 49ers slides, which were rubber sandals. They were able to find footage of him walking in town for about 2.25 miles, but nothing after that at all. One instance did show him buying something for cash at a convenience store, so he did have some cash on him. I was able to find 2 Facebook accounts for Davohnte and one for his girlfriend. The strange thing that I found was that she left her account linked to him, listing her as his girlfriend. She also checked into an event and tagged him on November 23rd, 2021. For anyone who doesn't use Facebook, you can check in at events and you can tag other people that are with you. The strange thing about tagging him was that it was more than a year since he was last seen, and there was no mention at all in the post about him actually being there or being a part of her life. One Facebook post that I found listed Davohnte's girlfriend as being a suspect, but that's not been stated by the police. It does appear the family put out some posters listing her as a person of interest. Morgan's family has hired a private investigator, and a $25,000 reward is being offered for information leading to him. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Mount Shasta Police Department. The number is listed on the screen. Angela Rene Jaramillo. Angela went by the name Angie, and she went missing from Dallas, Texas in January of 2010. The night Angie went missing, she was wearing a gray Hollister hoodie and light-colored jeans. What we know is that she left her house around 11:30 p.m. to go to a boy's house, where she was planning to attend a house party. A little while later, she texted her mom to ask if she could spend the night with a friend, and her mother agreed. This was the last contact. At 9:30 a.m. the next day, her mother called Angie, but there was no answer. She then called the friend that Angie was supposed to stay with. The boy whose party she went to said that she left alone at 2 a.m. It was likely the typical teen trick where you lie about where you really are, but you're actually somewhere else that your parent would not approve of. But then again, Angie's friend did claim later on that she did expect Angie to come over, and that she never showed up. So it's hard to know for sure what the plan really was supposed to be. But even if she had pulled that maneuver, my friends did it in high school and so many before. Usually it doesn't end this way. Angie was a pretty stable teen. She had 3 younger brothers and sisters and was a good student. She was active in soccer and volleyball, an all-around happy kid. Her cell phone eventually showed up at a park, and the money she had in her bank account has never been touched. There were unverified sightings in Dallas after, but none were confirmed. One suggested that she was seen by someone she knew with 4 men, so it's possible Angie had been trafficked and could still be alive. Angie had braces on her teeth when she went missing. She was 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighed around 190. Her tongue and lower lip are pierced. Her ears have double piercings. Her mother desperately needs to know where her daughter is now or what happened to her. Angie was just 16 when she went missing from Dallas, Texas. If she's alive today, she would be 28. Carrie Ann Monroe. Carrie was 26 years old when she was last seen at the Comfort Motel on the 300 block of Berlin Turnpike in Berlin, Connecticut. At the time she disappeared, she was living with her boyfriend there, and they had a 2-year-old son. Carrie also had a 5-year-old child, although it's unclear if the kids were staying with them at the time Carrie went missing. There's no indication she did not have custody, so it's likely they were somewhere nearby. It's known she traveled from the motel she was staying at to Hartford, Connecticut. She had no vehicle at the time, and there's no mention of how she was traveling between the 2 cities. The cities themselves are about 10 miles apart. Carrie was from Waterbury, Connecticut, but frequently bounced around the cities of Hartford and New Haven. There's some concern that the Berlin Turnpike is known for human trafficking, but there's no proof this is what happened to Carrie. Carrie's boyfriend, the father of her son, was arrested on unrelated charges and told authorities that he believed she left of her own accord. But it was her friends and not him that reported her missing 9 days after that, although there's no indication he's listed as a person of interest. Carrie is 5'1" to 5'3" inches tall, around 130 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. If Carrie is still alive, she would be 38 years old today. Lester Raymond Jones Jr. 25-year-old Lester Raymond Jones Jr. was a grad student in biomedical engineering at Mississippi State University in January of 2010. He was a popular guy and a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Lester did not live at the fraternity, though. He lived off campus with a roommate on College View Street in Starkville, Mississippi. 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. He was a good-looking guy who was going places. The young grad student is described as intelligent and motivated, and of course, biomedical engineering is not an easy subject. On that final day he was seen, we know that he was planning to travel to Jackson, Mississippi. He stopped at his family's house in Tupelo for a brief visit. Lester was on his way from Starkville to Jackson. He planned to meet with some friends and fraternity brothers. He was driving his 2002 blue Ford Expedition with the license plate number KTW 714. At 10:18 p.m. that day, Surveillance cameras at a Sprint marked service station captured Lester on video. He had gone in Flowood, Mississippi, to that Sprint Mart in order to use the men's room. However, Lester left the cell phone in the men's room, according to the Jackson Free Press. It's unclear if it was on purpose or on accident. A customer found the phone and gave it to the store employees. Flowood is about 50 minutes from his destination, which was Jackson, Mississippi. This was the last sighting. His friends in Jackson reported that he never arrived. His fraternity jumped in and searched for him, along with friends and family, saying they are family too. But no clues were found, other than his phone. This is just an idea of mine, but if anyone lives in the area, often vehicles that disappear along with their owners are found in bodies of water. It's the easiest place to hide them, or keep them from being found. But it's one of those things that needs familiarity with the area to know how to even report it. However, there's a group, Adventures with Purpose, that search areas throughout the United States for free to look for vehicles and help recover missing people. If anyone lives in the area and knows where he might have gone into the water, if that's even a possibility, please suggest it to him. They always seem to need a map of places to go, and it's very possible they will look if somebody could give some suggestions. I tried using Google Earth, but maps are definitely not my talent in the first place, and someone with knowledge of the area might be even better. If you have any information on this case, contact the Starkville Police Department. Lester Raymond Jones has been missing for 12 years. If Lester is still alive, he'd be 38 today. David Earl Robinson. David went missing from Detroit, Michigan in 2010. He was 38 at the time. 6'1" and 210 pounds. He'd had brain surgery that left him paralyzed on his right side, but he was active and he didn't let it hold him back. They know that he was wearing gold diamond stud earrings and a gold wedding band with a diamond in the center when he went missing. Because of the paralysis, Dave had a limp, and his right hand was a challenge. It was a distinctive thing because it caused him to have a permanently closed fist. There's a surgical scar on the left side of his head, and a long scar on his left forearm, and another on the left side of his chest over his heart. We do know that Dave traveled to his mother's home in Detroit on January 3rd, 2010. His aunt had unfortunately passed away, and he had stopped to get details about the upcoming funeral. He left her home at 9 p.m. that night and headed over to a cousin's house. He stayed there just a short time, however, and the cousin said he left in his 1998 Mercury Grand Marquis. This was the last time anyone saw him. His car did show up, being driven by another man who isn't disclosed. The man was arrested for theft and the car impounded. The Detroit police are looking for information on this case. David Earl Robinson has been missing for 12 years. If Dave is still alive, he would be 49 today. Tameka Anderson. Tameka went by the nickname of Kesha, and she was 25 years old, living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. People that knew her said she was a devoted mom with no vehicle at the time, and it was this reason she left in order to buy a new car. Her family is clear she would not leave her children. They were her world. Whatever happened wasn't by choice. Her family believes the car sale was a setup from someone she knew, who knew she got her income tax. She got into a car when she left her house, and the suggestion is it was that someone who was taking her to get the car. Her family believes it was that person who set her up. But no one is talking, and no one's sure exactly who it was who was taking her. Now, often in a case like this, it's the person selling the car that seems to be the person of interest. But in this case, there was a car. They confirmed it. The person selling the car confirmed that he had spoken to Tameka and he was expecting her to arrive, but she never showed up. We know that she talked on the phone to several people while she was on the way there, but that was the last time she was ever heard from. Tameka was 5'1" and weighed 150 to 165 pounds when she vanished. Please contact the Baton Rouge Police Department if you know anything. Tameka Anderson has been missing for 12 years. She was 25 when she went missing and would be 37 years old today. Melisa J. Blevins. It was February of 2010 in Portsmouth, Ohio, when Melisa made the announcement that she was going to a store. She was never heard from again. Her family is clear she would never have abandoned her daughter. There is some information she could still be alive today and is being trafficked, possibly in Kentucky. Melisa was 5'3" and 140 pounds when she went missing. She had red hair and blue eyes. If you have seen Melisa or know anything about where she might be, please make a call to the Portsmouth Police or contact Crime Stoppers. Melisa J. Blevins has been missing for 12 years. If she's still alive, she'd be 42 today. Ashley Victoria Koller. Ashley lived with her stepmom in Corona, California, up until July of 2009. It was then she moved out and became distanced from those who loved and cared for her. The last time anyone spoke to her, it was described as a desperate phone call to a friend around August of 2009. However, the content of the call has never been disclosed. It appears that when she moved, she took a job in Santa Barbara, California. She did contact people now and then, but the phone calls and emails stopped by May 2010. The weird thing is, they mentioned the phone call in August of 2009, but it also says that she continued to reach out to family and friends, and that stopped by May 2010. Her family said she was supposedly in Sun City, California at the time, but it's believed she could be alive and living in Inland Empire, California. Her family just desperately needs to know if she's okay or not. She was 5'2" to 5'5" and weighed around 110 to 135. She had brown hair and blue eyes, but she liked to dye her hair many different colors. She sometimes used the name Victoria Lawson. Ashley has been missing for 12 years. If she's still alive, she'd be 32 today. Marion McCleneghan-Soto. On February 6, 2010, Marion attended a party in the area of 14th Street and 7th Avenue in Brooklyn, New York, only about 12 doors down from her own residence. She apparently got in a disagreement with the person holding the party, angrily leaving at 2 a.m. Richard Eric Sosa was the host of that party, and also a man that Marion had been dating. Her driver's license, bank card, cell phone were all located inside her apartment, as were 2 packs of cigarettes and $300 in cash. So if she willingly left, it's very odd that she left those things. It makes it likely she didn't just walk away from her life. The weird thing, however, is that her 2 laptop computers and her handwritten journals were gone, which is of course pretty suspicious. She didn't appear to have returned home, or if she did, she was wearing the same clothes she'd worn on that night when she left again. Her bank accounts haven't been touched since arriving at the party that day. However, the owner of a local bodega near her residence stated that he thought he saw her around 7 p.m. on February 7th, and this was the day after the party. The bodega owner said she came into the establishment to tell him goodbye. He said she was crying and upset, saying she was going to Long Island and he wouldn't be seeing her anymore. And I'm not calling the guy a liar, but he also likely knew the boyfriend, and so I don't know, things are a little murky, because why would she not take the $300 in her apartment or any of her belongings with her if she was planning to leave for good? It's very odd. It's a known fact that Marion's brother does live on Long Island, but he didn't hear from her, and her family says that he is the only person she knows on Long Island. More so, her family reports that it wasn't normal for her to be out of contact. They do not believe the statement that she was leaving or that she would leave without warning. Also, she had just gotten a new job at a medical marketing firm, and she was really excited about the new employment. It's another reason it seems very strange that she might have just walked away. She had lost a close friend recently, as well as her father and 2 aunts, so it's possible that she chose to do something to herself. But that being stated, her family reports she was doing okay. She wasn't showing any signs of depression. She and her husband had separated, but they were still in close contact and not in odds with each other at all. Richard Eric Sosa, the man she had been seeing who hosted the party, was seen as a possible suspect. He was interviewed by the police many times, and they asked him to take a polygraph test, although it's unclear if he ever did. There's not a lot on the record that happened after this. Marion has been missing for 12 years. If she's still alive, she would be 52 today. Daniel Lambertson. Daniel had attended a church service on January 30th, 2010 with his wife. The service was at Farmington High School. The couple had met there individually, driving their own cars. The plan was to drive back home and eat dinner there. However, only his wife arrived home. She saw she had 2 missed calls from Daniel on her phone, and he didn't leave a message. There was no sign of him until 3 days later when his maroon gray 2000 Volkswagen Jetta was found abandoned on the North Shore on the island of Oahu. All of his belongings were intact inside, including his briefcase. He and his wife had moved there from New Jersey. The two had only been married for about a year, but they dated for 7 years before. The relocation was meant to sell real estate in Hawaii. However, he had just left the Hawaii Realty Group and had joined another agency. Although the police state there's no evidence of foul play in this case, his wife was adamant that he would never have left without a warning, and she feared for his safety. A family friend named Kay Walsh said it made no sense. The car was found in Hauula, but the church they went to was located in Farmington, and he was supposed to be traveling to their home in Pearl City. It was she who found his car when they were out searching for days, saying the car was locked when she found it. Daniel's bride made pleas for his safe return. She and her family passed out missing person flyers and asked the public for help, saying he loved everyone, and I just don't know what happened. Kay Walsh said later, I'm just devastated. Dan and Terry are the sweetest, nicest couple. He's tall and skinny, and I've never seen him without a big smile on his face. The police department's bloodhound, Annie, was called in to pick up Daniel's scent. The search ended without ever finding the scent outside of the car, so there is some implication that somebody else drove the car to where it was found. His mother maintains the Facebook page Missing Dan Lambertson. She has continued to make pleas for someone to please come forward with information, sharing a photo of her son on the island of Maui. Her son told her it was just another day in paradise. He loved his wife and he loved where he lived. He also shared with his mother how good and kind the people were around him. He especially loved escaping the cold climate of New Jersey. It was this friendly attitude that inspired others to open their homes to him and even teach him the customs of the island. He'd made many friends along the way at his new home, and Dan loved where he lived. He was also a very handy person, talented not just with real estate, but with computers and carpentry. He hiked and played golf, always with his contagious smile and an enjoyment of life. While his mother is posting on the missing site, there's no indication of what happened to his wife, or if she's involved in any way now looking for him. When Dan went missing, he was 6'1", 175 pounds, with dark brown hair and blue eyes. Daniel Lambertson was 39 when he went missing 12 years ago. If he's still alive today, he would be 51. Karen Ray Basta. Karen has been described by her mother as kind, compassionate, and just a loving young woman. In 2014, Karen was 38 and had moved to Hertford, North Carolina for a fresh start to live with her mother, and things had been going pretty well. That is until May 30th, 2015. That day started out normally. She spoke to her mother, Arlene, at noon. Karen told her mom that she was heading out to run some errands, and afterwards she would be heading to see a few friends later that day. It appears she did meet her friends, although it's unclear who she was with. While there, Karen texted her mother to say she'd be home early. Her mother believes they met at a point 20 minutes away in Edenton, North Carolina. According to the police, she was last seen alone, leaving a Walgreens store, but shortly prior to that, she had made 3 transactions at a Food Lion store. It's not clear why they were there, or why there were 3 transactions, although there's some indication later that some of them had been rejected, or maybe all. But we do know that when she was inside the store, she was alone. That night, she had been driving her car, a 1997 Lincoln Continental, but it was found in the back lot of a shopping center in Gaslight Square in Edenton. This point was about a mile away from the Food Lion store, where she'd been seen on video. The drawers were locked and the keys were missing. The police stated there were no fingerprints or DNA on or in the car. I'm not sure if it means that it was wiped down, although it seems to indicate it. The only thing inside the car was a pack of cigarettes, which wasn't unusual as Karen was a smoker. Earlier that day, in fact, her mother had loaned Karen a credit card to buy groceries. It was shortly thereafter her mother, Arlene, noticed that there was activity on the credit card the following day. It was used at a gas station that was on the way back from Edenton to Hertford. When the sheriff checked into the footage, however, from that transaction, it was a man. It was not Karen. And it was a man that Karen knew. He had attempted to use it a few times, but by then the card had been reported and the transaction was denied. The man using that Discover card was Thomas Edward White Sr. His only charges for this event was property by false pretenses, although he's considered a person of interest. He's not admitted to having any part in Karen's disappearance, and he claims not to know what happened to her. He was ordered to pay $600 in restitution and spend 6 weekends in jail, as well as 36 months on probation. White claimed he simply found the Discover card laying on a porch, and it's a story he stuck to. He was given a lie detector test to determine if he was involved in her disappearance, and he failed that test. However, the sheriff and the administrator of the test said that they do not believe that White was actually the one who did anything to Karen, but that he knows who did it, and he refuses to say. There have been many searches by air, foot, and using search dogs. No sign of Karen was ever found. It wasn't an easy search, however, and it included an awful lot of farmland, and it would be very easy to have missed something. So they're not convinced she's not still out there. It has come out that Karen had a cognitive impairment and that she should have been considered a silver alert, which is something they enact in that area that causes multiple agencies to be involved in looking for her. It would have been so helpful had this happened. However, there were 2 different police departments and jurisdictions involved, and they say there was a miscommunication between the 2, and for this reason, the silver alert was never enacted. They say that foul play is suspected. Disappearing was entirely uncharacteristic of her behavior, and no one believes she went missing intentionally. If Karen is still alive, she would be 46 today. When she went missing, she weighed around 150 pounds, was 5'3", and had a tattoo of a butterfly on her lower back. One report lists her as being behind the Dairy Queen all day that last day, although it's not clear why, or even with who. It appears the people she met to hang out with were at the Tasty Freeze. Her mother has a plea for anyone with knowledge to contact the authorities, saying she doesn't care about names or placing blame. She just wants to know what happened to her daughter. It appears there is a $20,000 reward for information leading to her whereabouts. Karen Ray Basta has been missing for 7 years. If still alive today, she would be 46. Lenora Joan Seiler. Lenora was 13 on February 13, 1953. Her father dropped her off to meet a friend at a local movie theater in Valley Park, Missouri. According to the friend, the 2 girls had a great time. Nothing out of the ordinary happened, that is, until Lenora disappeared. One seemingly small choice would change everything. Lenora's father was a little bit late picking her up, and Lenora made the choice to walk the 8 blocks to her home on her own. Her father looked for her on the way home but couldn't find her. A school friend saw her 1 block before reaching the Seiler home, so we know she made it that far safely. There's no question the friend saw her, as she accurately described what she was wearing, so we know that she almost made it. Her mother was home and inside when she heard a car door slam and a child scream. When she ran to the window, she witnessed a vehicle outside with its lights off, speeding away. Unbeknownst to her, it was likely Lenora was inside. Her family immediately believed that Lenora had been abducted, and she called the police. As is pretty typical in this situation, the police were not convinced, instead insisting she was just a runaway. Family pushed back, and they insisted the quiet, well-behaved 13-year-old girl was happy and thriving. She wouldn't have run away. Absent proof of an abduction, it was treated as a runaway situation, where the child is expected to come back on her own. Only she wasn't, and she didn't. And I've had people in the comments mentioning, we talked about an 11-year-old boy named Sean Betts who ran away and the police did the same thing, although this would be years later after Lenora. If they're 11 or 13, I don't understand not searching for them, but that's just my personal feeling on it. Lenora's father, Bernard, worked for Joseph Sonnen at Sonnen Products as a drill press operator, and the man handed him what could have been a blessing in finding Lenora. He offered the reward of $1,000 for her location, an amount that would be about $10,000 in today's money. It was this reward that actually inspired about 75 people in the community to endlessly keep searching for her in hopes of getting the payoff. It sounds a little disheartening, but at least they were looking. Despite all of the effort, no one could find her. It would be nearly 30 days before she was located in the nearby river. Lenora's body was found on March 14, 1953, tangled to the side of the Merrimack River. She was unclothed other than a St. Christopher's medal, which was found twisted up in her hair. The situation was odd, however. Her body was covered in mud, and the theory is that she had been buried and the body dislodged because the water levels were so high at that time and the current so strong, they surmised it was possible that she had a lot of mud on her. It would have had to have been washed off in the same way. They believe the water currents washed her clothing off, which I don't know if I'm convinced. What I personally find puzzling is if they believe the clothes were simply washed off, how could that happen without the mud being washed off? While the forensic examination found no evidence of any sort of assault, it's logical to expect that there was a reason for kidnapping a young girl, especially one that was found without clothing on. Lenora had undigested popcorn still in her stomach, meaning whatever happened to her happened that night within 5 hours of eating that popcorn. No definite cause of death could be determined, with the coroner leading toward asphyxiation. There was some confusion if bruising found on her body was done post-mortem, although the amount of bruising wasn't extensive either way. Her parents found themselves drowning in grief, with no answers forthcoming. Eventually, her church dedicated a baptismal fountain in her honor. Much of her story is told through article after article in the paper, but the one thing missing was who did this. In 1958, there was a sudden lead. A man named Denver Darrell was arrested for vagrancy in that area. This is where things conflict with newspaper stories and online recaps. Denver was either 22, 23, or 16, depending on which story you look at. I think it's likely he was 16 at the time Lenora died. The case was still handled by police specializing in juvenile offenses. Denver was considered an odd guy. It appears that he was living a bit of a transient life and he had been employed as a farm worker. He was arrested by the Kirkwood, Missouri police for vagrancy, and they found themselves shocked to see he was carrying around a newspaper clipping that described Lenora's death, and this was years after the fact. His parents had apparently moved from the St. Louis area, and he had reportedly planned to head to Michigan for job prospects, but he was picked up along the way. That said, Kirkwood, Missouri appears to be only about 7 miles from Valley Park, so the police were excited to finally have a lead on this case, and the case had rocked that entire community. Police found that people in the area were so afraid they even hired an extra officer to keep people safe after what happened to Lenora. And in this instance, they did what any good police officer would do, and they seized the lead and they questioned the man. Much to their relief, he confessed to the murder. He said he found her at a bus stop and he attempted to strike up a conversation. He then rebuffed her and struck her on the head and threw her in the Merrimack River, which was overflowing at the time. So much of Denver's confession conflicted with the facts. The interesting thing about this conversation is it has so many echoes of so many reports over the years, where it's likely the police led a confession. Perhaps in a way it wasn't even understood at the time that it was happening and a part of history. It's oddly specific. So much of Denver's confession conflicted with the facts. Denver's aunt and uncle promptly came forward. They explained to the police the boy suffered from a mental illness and he'd been hospitalized on and off. He had been attending a special school for what they describe as handicapped children. As soon as he saw his family, he admitted that he'd made up the entire thing. The police were understandably frustrated and they didn't know what to believe. They were somewhat relieved when Denver agreed to a lie detector test. The results, according to the police, are that he passed with flying colors. They now believed his story, but they're back to square one, because with that, the only lead disappeared. We know that she wasn't at a bus station, and we know she likely made it almost all the way home. Who did this remains shrouded in mystery to this day. Caroline Diebold Seiler passed away in 2003, and her husband, Bernard Seiler, passed away in 2008. Neither knew who took the life of their daughter. Sadly, this is the last of the story, as the police quietly closed it for a lack of leads. Lenora Joan Seiler's murder has gone unsolved for 69 years. If Lenora had lived, she would be 82 today.
That's it for today. Thank you everyone so much for watching and listening. Please take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We have new episodes every Monday and Thursday. Take care of yourselves and each other.